This week on the Grind Theory podcast.
This is when I realized that I'm different than everybody else. That I, even though I was born here, grown up here, and things like that, that I'm someone different. True. And so experienced that at a young age, and this was grade 2. Got into a big epic fight. And I was called that, and I remember I had all my friends and people around, and unfortunately, as little kids, still got into a big fight with this older grade 6er, this bully around that. And I had an older brother, or I have an older brother, and he wasn't around for that. But then experiencing that again emphasized this almost value, or distilled this value, that I'm different than everybody else, which I think helped me kind of figure out who I am.
Yo.
We are back in the building.
Yes, sir.
In the flesh.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, Ori? I don't know why you feel special with that different mic.
Bro, listen, you cost this, man. This is all you, man.
How does that mean?
I had the long one, and then, I don't know, you being all pressure, you be doing that kill stuff. You gonna mess up the tread. Messing up the tread like you messed them.
It's okay.
Feel that vibe. So don't be shame. Only the chosen few shall understand.
What's up, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm tired, though.
Tired?
With this whole crazy stuff going on, man.
I feel that.
But we're doing a good transition to that, though. With all this crazy stuff, though, we're still putting it up to one person.
Who is that?
Nah, you got to answer this time, because I give the...
I already know the answer.
I know the answer. Come on. The
answer is the big man upstairs.
Yes, sir.
First things first, every time we have the podcast, we always got to give credit to God.
Always.
Because it's due, It's due. We got to thank him for waking us up, giving us the ability to be here.
Yes, sir.
For the guests getting here safely, for the guests leaving. And today, today, just the struggle of just everyday life. Like, he's been watching over us, holding us down the whole time. So we got to give thanks to God first and foremost. Always. First things first, Or we in the struggle, right?
Yes,
1% better every day.
Like I always, no. Listen. So I got a new line for you people now. We always say we're broke. It's a different saying now. The saying is
tell them
one of the paths was financial freedom.
Tell them,
because there's this saying: what you tell yourself is what you become.
Speaking into existence.
Exactly.
Y'all never heard that?
We ain't gonna be saying that shit anymore.
Speaking into
existence. Because I remember that, bro. When we're working out, bro, we sort of a beast. My nigga, I went from 225. They lived at 400 and something.
And we didn't use words like I can.
Exactly.
I can't.
I can't.
What do we say? Whenever we say it was easy. Hard. It's easy. It's easy.
So what you feed yourself is, listen, I know people might be like, yo, this guy's on one of those, saying stuff, but for real, what you feed your mind is key.
It's key. That's what. See, okay.
Say.
Listen. I want to speak my truth real quick before we keep going. Listen. You see what Ori just said? How come he doesn't say that when I say I'm the cream? That's all I gotta say.
There's a reason.
Okay. Next. Anyways.
So listen. Listen. I did the episode. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna record myself personally, put it on top this. It's gonna say what I want to say, and then we're back to the episode. So I'm gonna follow it, and now we're back to the episode. Watch. I'm gonna do it. Watch.
So recap from last episode, we had Alan on, the owner of Comedio,
yes, sir,
who also has the Building Bridges podcast. It was a great episode.
Definitely.
Telling a story all the way from
Rwanda.
Do you like the beginning of that episode? Just it's so intense in the beginning of the episode, and it just keeps going, right? What he's been through, to see the type of person that he is from what he's been through and his experiences. It was just a great episode. His theory of the grind was hustle. And he said that the reason why it was hustle was because the hustle incorporates or encompasses everything. The passion, the grind, the intention, the effort behind your grind.
Yes.
And the key thing that he said was you got to hustle like today is your last day. Like there's no tomorrow. Which is a big key, because tomorrow is not promised.
Yes, sir.
Especially in the world and how things are going crazy.
Right now,
Like it's not promised. So we got to make use of the time that we have now.
True.
Today, though,
but I'm excited, actually.
Today's a big man episode.
I'm actually excited about it, man.
Big man episode. Today, our guest, he probably got the longest dreads I've ever seen since I've been back home.
Fact. It's better, man. As you guys can see, that's why I'm covering my head, because I can't.
You didn't want to be ashamed. You gotta pull that over his head.
I can't say anything anymore, man, because.
No, so our guest today, I was very fortunate to connect with him at the Law Connectional event. Shout out to Law Connectional. And not only that, but I've seen him through the gym, and we also talked outside of that as well.
Yeah.
But this guest, really excited. He went to University of Alberta. I'm not going to say what he completed, but he went to University of Alberta. He is also the owner and the founder of Vision Media, which is a media company / marketing company, all in that space. He is also the owner of the Cadence of Bobby podcast. And without further ado, he's also not only that, but a YouTube creator and content maker.
Yeah, man, I stalk his channel. It gives me some inspiration he doesn't know.
Especially, and he's very big into the videography space.
Yes, sir.
And without further ado, I'm not even going to say too much. Without further ado, we got to introduce the man, the myth, the legend.
Yes, sir.
Bobby T.
What's good?
What's going on?
I'm
Very,
chilling.
very happy to have you on, man.
Welcome to
Very,
the
very
channel.
excited.
Yo, thank you so much for having me. I'm been stoked all week, all day about this
Bless.
conversation.
Hey,
I
bless.
like that, man. It's the one good thing too is that you love conversation too. So I know it's gonna be
gonna be good.
juicy. You
Oh,
know,
100%.
gonna be a good one.
100%.
it's gonna be juicy. So, Bobby, man.
Yes.
My brother.
Come on. So we have a ritual we always do before any guests. We start any episode. We usually go like this.
We need to get those utensils, man.
Now we're gonna get utensils, and we're always like, you're gonna dissect the guests. We're gonna dissect,
Okay.
dissect you, break you down into pieces. You know the way. You know the way for anyone that non-vegan people. You know when you want to eat meat, the way you dissect it, you break it down. That's what we're gonna. No.
I didn't have any tools. I didn't have any tools this
Alright,
time.
I think this time we'll actually go to a dollar store and I pick up some knives. I told you, bro, no metal. Nah, man. We don't
Metal, man.
Come on,
You gotta make it. It gotta be real,
Bro, we
man.
can't
We don't
just-
bring the fake,
Okay,
man.
actually,
Yo, it has to be.
Okay, so
Thank you.
like there's this thing. So I throw a number of events around the city.
Yeah.
And I remember we were working. This one sponsor says you have to drink. Our cocktails have to be in like glasses. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong with plastic cups? On the shoots, different experience.
Okay, so that's your question.
All about the
I'll ask you as
experience.
a guest. So right now, let's say me and Akil pulled up and we go like this. From the pocket, we went like this. We knife and fork right there. How you
Yeah.
gonna do? Are you gonna run or are you gonna...
No, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna
You're
see.
gonna
He's gonna have our full attention, man.
I was like, yo, things are
What's
getting
going
serious.
on? What's going on? Are they gonna cook me a dish? What's going on? Like, what,
We
you know?
shepherd things up. Like,
You know
what's
what I'm
going
saying?
on?
No, we'll do it this way. You take the knife and fork. I'll go with the plastic.
Okay. All right. I'm with the real man.
You're the wild one, but... So you'll let you get it, Akil. Let's go.
So, man, Bobby, man, where are you from originally?
Yeah.
And give us some of your childhood memories
Yeah.
and experiences. Tell us what it was like growing up.
Cool. So originally, like my parents are from Jamaica.
Okay.
And I'm a first generation Canadian. So I was born and raised here in the city of Edmonton.
Okay, nice.
And like one of the things that I think is so blessed and so amazing is sort of that privilege to grow up in the country like this. So some of my childhood memories, like so much. So much good, but straight up so much bad. like it goes up and down.
No, yeah.
So first off, at a very young age, and I don't know if you saw about a year ago, there was this thing going on Facebook where people were saying, and I don't know if I can cuss on this.
No, 100%.
But
go for it.
to be real, like the first time you were called a nigger.
Yeah.
And I want to start there because that was when I realized that I'm different than everybody else. That I, even though I was born here, grown up here,
Yeah.
and things like that, that I'm someone different. True. And so experienced that at a young age, and this was grade 2.
Yeah.
Damn.
Got into a big epic fight.
Down.
And I was called that. And I remember I had all my friends and people around, and unfortunately, as little kids,
Yeah.
still got into a big fight with this older grade 6er, this bully around that.
Damn.
Down.
And I had an older brother, or I have an older brother.
Yeah.
And he wasn't around for that. But then experiencing that again emphasized this almost value, or distilled this value,
Yeah.
that I'm different than everybody else,
Yeah.
which I think helped me kind of figure out who I am.
Okay.
So growing up in the city, I was fortunate enough to kind of grow up within like 2 organizations. One was called the Jamaica Association of Alberta,
Okay.
and the other one was called the National Black Coalition Canada. They had all these youth programs and activities, so I got to connect with more people that looked like me,
Yeah.
while still being rooted in terms of connecting to my heritage, connecting to where I came from, and never losing sight of that, which was dope.
Down. Nice.
Yeah, and then as I like kind of grew up and like started doing stuff, one of the things that I loved was gaming.
Okay.
And when I mean gaming, like everything, like Nintendo 64, like
Okay.
Super Nintendo, moving up to like the PlayStation, all that. Like I was a fanatic, and so I recall like at a young age, like in like grade 6, getting all my friends and boys like, hey, whose house we're going to? And then we bring our controllers, our cartridges and
Yeah, I
stuff,
remember that, yeah.
go start gaming, start having a blast.
Yeah.
And like that was like sort of like my childhood.
Okay.
Bless.
I like that. That sounds like a lit childhood. man. Okay, I got a question for you because I used to be into games too, you know, and I had like a I don't know if like no.
You're still into games?
Okay, yeah, no, okay. I mean, I still am, but I mean, like, not as hard as I was before.
Yeah.
But I used to have like a they call it a poly station. Like I don't know, it's the one. It has like a cartridge, but it has like 7 games in the one cartridge.
Yeah.
I know that.
And those came overseas.
Yeah,
And so
see-
when you start getting those, you're like, yo, what's 7 games of what? Yeah,
Yo,
I know exactly.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
remember there was a Mario game, and like I wanted to know if this is common experience because I don't know if it's just me.
Yeah.
Maybe, like I remember I was trying to. There's a part I couldn't get past. I kept dying. I kept having to go back and save Peach, you know. And then I got there. I got so mad, and I threw the controller down, and it broke. And then it was game over.
Damn.
So I want to know if that's a common experience or like you guys were loving your PlayStation.
I mean, like PlayStation wise, bro. Nah, you just gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
I drop the game, I leave, I do something
Yo,
else, come back.
I lost like 7 times in a row, man. I was trying to figure it out.
Yo, I didn't abuse it. I got, like everyone gets frustrated, Matt. But no, I didn't abuse it, man, because those things will, like, they're meant to break.
Yeah, bro.
So you go back to my new ones, you know?
I felt it because I never got one after that. My parents were like, "Yeah, you're gonna break tonight, you have money," you know. So it was done.
Well, no, but that sounds like a very, very nice childhood. But I want to know the bad side. I'm curious to actually know the bad side, though.
Yeah, man.
Yo, so like I said, like the bad side, the bad side,
Unfiltered. Come on.
Unfiltered.
the bad side of things kind of ebbs and flows.
Okay.
So one of the things I was fortunate enough to experience
Yeah.
is kind of like straight up growing up, I guess, having that street culture, that street knowledge around stuff.
Yeah.
Understanding like how to navigate straight up in the real world.
Yeah.
So whether that's around, yes, fights.
Yeah.
It's funny. What I will never forget this in junior high. And again, I grew up in a awesome group where from elementary to junior high to high school, we had the same kind of clique of friends. So we just had like heritage around what we were doing, right? And so we were just a big group.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was still a violent group. So like we would consistently, unfortunate times, get into fights.
Yeah.
Call it boys being boys.
Yeah.
We would do mischievous things. I mean, egg houses, like straight up,
yeah.
like
I've done that
the
before.
regular things, the
Yeah.
the ring in the rips. One, now that you used to bring that up too. One story I have, and I'll never forget this. And so imagine, like, this is grade 5.
Yeah.
In grade 5, and this, I'm gonna date myself. We had we had these like a milk cart.
Okay.
And in these milk cart, what you did is you could buy a bunch of like milk tickets to go buy your milk for like a week or stuff like that. So you get your parents, you pre-buy your tickets, and then you just have your milk.
Yeah.
We, being a bunch of kids, understood that, hey, we see these tickets, and they're like kind of like that take one, like omit one type of tickets where you could just go buy.
Yeah.
So we bought rolls at Safeway.
Oh,
we brought them to school,
That's
and we started getting milk.
Damn.
Then, because we're such juveniles, we started giving back the tickets to get money back.
Damn.
So we had this whole thing. It was smart and terrible.
Yeah.
So we all got caught because we're kids, because we're going to abuse it, right? We all got caught. I remember like the school, because it's a bunch of like, I don't even know how old grade 5 is. Like we're talking like kids.
Yeah.
Like,
So they brought like they brought a police officer to come talk to us and kind of like scare us straight.
Yeah.
But like
Didn't work.
we
You can't hurt me.
laughed it off. We were like, okay, and then we took it serious, and then we got suspended for that, but then we just kept going, moving
got
on
free
to the
time.
next
We got
thing.
free
We got
time
caught.
now.
We got caught, and then we got moved to the next thing. But straight goods, when it came to junior high, and when it came to like high school, unfortunately, like that's when there's always those, again, I'll say boys are being boys in terms of the fights, the scraps, the disagreements, and people don't look like you or don't click like you, or the other cliche like, oh, what school you go to? Oh, you go what? What? Oh, I don't like. Oh, that school? Oh, okay. And then like you like start like beefing with other people.
That's true.
And one of my best friends today went to this other school, and I'll never forget this. And this was like where some of those straight up, like, call it 90s, like hip hop movies and things like that, brainwashed us.
Yeah.
I remember like I saw this other black guy at this other fight. And me and my other like best friend who was also black, we were looking at him, we're like, who's that guy? We got to size him up. Like, we might have to scrap with this guy. We might have to go fight this guy. Because we were there in this big, huge fight where these two guys were going to go, like, from two different schools, were going to go scrap each other.
Yeah.
So then we're like sizing him up, and we're like, yo, this guy thinks he's crazy. He's thinking he's crazy. He's giving us a look. And then nothing happened. But then years later in high school, I connected with him. I was like, yo, like, what's up? What's your, like, you know? And then afterwards, we started reminiscing. Like, yo, what school you went to? Hey, do you remember this? And he's like, yeah. I do. I remember both you guys. And then like we laugh it off, but that's like, that was just.
That actually, man, but you know what though? I think all those experiences, they still mold, like, whether they're good or bad, they mold you into the person that you're going to be.
True.
And like, even those, like those, whatever, the scraps and fights, they either tell you to stand up for yourself or like they taught you something.
Yeah.
Well, 100%. Because let's be honest, in the real world, I mean, people will eat you up alive.
Exactly. They don't care.
Like if anything's more ruthless.
Yeah, it is.
It's more ruthless.
It's savage out here.
We think, and this is a little bit like controversial, but like as much as, again, there's so much bullying going on in school and like that. Yeah. Straight up in the real world, that's reality.
Yeah, it is.
It's part of life in some capacity. When you're in the office and someone says like, "Oh, nice shoes," or like jokes or clowns on you, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna have the safe structure of school to report on them or something like that. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So again, I think my upbringing in school, sometimes when it went south, sometimes when it was about a little bit rough, I don't know, it just prepared me. It just put me into perspective. It gave me some glimpses of real life.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
And straight up, if I need to protect myself or if I need to do what I need to do, then I can do it without 100%. Fear. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or with fear, because I know what the repercussions could happen.
Yeah, that's true. Especially with ass whooping. Especially when you get ass whooped. Yeah. Why do you think I started jiu-jitsu, bro?
That's fair.
And yo, I was in karate, like heavy around that stuff, just to learn the mechanics. Yeah.
And the thing about when fight, like taking martial art too, is you get humbled quick. Bro, I think I told him. So I recently got my first stripes in jiu-jitsu. Okay, good. I felt good. I was like, oh shit, I'm getting better. The next day, I got it on a Friday. Saturday, I went to the gym. I rolled with a white guy. I destroyed him. Yeah. I rolled with a blue belt. This guy told me, you got your stripe now. I can't take it easy on you. It gave me I did better than the first time I ever did with him. Yeah. But it gave me a good humble pie. Like after, you know what I did? I was like, yo, I tapped him and I was like, yo, thank you for the humble pie. Because like it's needed. Yeah. Because right there kind of showed, like, it showed me like, yo, yeah, you're progressing, but like, yo, you still gotta stay humble. Yeah. So like fighting, like even if it wasn't the best, fighting in school, it kind of shaped you to know that, okay, this is the result of what you get. Okay, you need to learn how to defend yourself. Or you need to learn this, you need to learn that. You need to learn how to like, control yourself. Because like sometimes you can fight, you can hurt somebody bad. Yeah. When you hurt the person bad, if you don't learn through it, in real life, it's a different case. In school, if the person doesn't die, hopefully you're good. Yeah. But in real life, you can hit somebody and then you're going to jail straight 100%, up. 100%. But then if you learn that in school, you're like, okay, I need to know how to hold myself. So it's a plus. I like that though.
That's the thing. Like there's so many things that you go through in life. Sometimes you think that like it's not gonna benefit you, but like way later down, like it benefits you, and you didn't think. You're like, oh man, remember that one time I got into that scrap, and then this guy ducked here. Now I know if this guy's gonna punch me, maybe I should duck. You know what I mean?
100%.
So another question that I have, just kind of on that kind of in that same group, is that you said that you grew up in that nice community, right? With the Jamaican community as well as the black community as well, right? So what was it like having, because I'm assuming that there was also a lot of strong black figures in that community, right? Yeah. So kind of what impact did those people have on you? And was it negative or positive?
So straight up, overall positive, but not in like the traditional sense of them having like an impact. Like it just was just being present, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then having the right, like, call it adults to just work with us or do stuff with us. I mean, the reason why I say not in the traditional sense is like, I don't know. I think nowadays there's like a whole new level when it comes to having like strong black men or strong black women kind of mentoring or connecting. And I didn't have that in that traditional sense, but I just saw them working, or I just saw them functioning, or I saw them, call it, connecting with one another around things or doing different stuff. And again, and maybe I'm just taking it for granted because I was so engulfed in it. It was just great to see, call it, whether it was successful or whether it was just strong or just people kind of doing stuff in a positive manner, in a positive like format, you know? And like that is something that as I got older, I did not take for granted because quite quickly, so I'm fortunate enough to like go back to Jamaica every like couple of years or every 3 or 4 years. And while I was young, going back to Jamaica actually showed me how much I have here and started to respect, like, again, I'll call it the privilege I have, and seeing also and being fortunate to see where my parents grew up, literally in their 1-room bedroom places with 7 other brothers, 6 other siblings. To me is insanity, like impossible. Yet, like, here I am in my this big house that my parents got. It's just me and my brother and my parents, like complete spoiled. And so seeing that at a young age also reminded me like you got it really good. And to see your parents kind of transition from that to that, if I can make that leap, jeez, literally my parents are from what they came from to where they are. I mean, they're billionaires, you know what I mean? Like they made it, like they climbed out of nothing, like the cliche nothing to something. So if they gave me this platform, I better do something strong with that. I better take full advantage of it.
I think I was having a conversation with him earlier on where like a lot of, because I'm an immigrant too, so I moved from Nigeria to Canada for school. Like I know the difference. Like there's like it's like night and day. Back home, like especially for example, say you're I do photography. There's a bunch of like it's so hard to make it in there compared to this space where there's so much opportunity to make it. Like a lot of people, especially when you're born in this space and you don't see it, you're like, okay, like you nag, you complain, you do stuff. Like for example, like school wise, like I see if I was a local student, like I would explore as much as I can because like international students, you pay around like 12 grand a semester. That's 4 months. Local students, you pay 2 grand. You see the huge difference.
Night and day.
Huge. But they're like, oh no, school is this, school is that. I'm like, you can like, I'm not saying go to school, but there's so much resources you have that you gotta take advantage of it. But people nag, complain, don't see from a different lens. Until when you go to a different country and then you see it.
100%. And experience it. You know, like truly experience it so that it like, again, you can watch and you can, like, let's be honest, because then we see everything. But like, there's a difference between seeing it and experiencing it. And that's why they say like immigrants work harder or are more successful or have a higher chance of success because they're gonna take full advantage.
They know.
They're going to drive home that one little edge or that one little step or that little axis they have and not like play it like it's nothing.
That's true. That's true. Nah, it is crazy. It's a night and day difference, definitely. So, man, I was gonna ask you. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask going from. So you talked a little bit about junior high and high school now, right? So kind of moving forward from that, now you went to university. Kind of what was that like? What was that period like?
So that was really dope. And like one major thing that happened that transitioned from like junior high school to I guess you could say university was again, I loved video games. So I started playing professionally. And I had the opportunity to start traveling the world, getting paid a salary and really attending some like really crazy international tournaments all around what they were called esports, this emerging kind of space.
So which, like, was there like a specific game that you were like into and getting? So which game was that?
It was called Counter-Strike.
Okay.
So it was like a PC game. So that experience, really, I didn't understand it. So there was literally people that were becoming thousandaires, not millionaires, what you see now, but thousandaires. There was people who were walking on stage getting like $70,000 checks, $50,000 checks from these gaming spaces, and I didn't understand like why. And really, what it was, it's all fueled by marketing. It was fueled by all of these big major computer companies, essentially sponsoring these events, sponsoring these players, and then literally as players or as teams, I mean, we had fans in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions all across the world. So they were buying up all this stuff to emulate these gamers. So seeing that, that's when I decided to go into university, because after I was playing professional video games for about 4 years, and then I had to make a decision of either starting a clothing store, attending university, or continuing down video games. To be honest, I regret going. I X'd the video games and I decided to open up the clothing store and attend university. But the year I did that, my team ended up like winning all of these like leagues and tournaments. So long story short, in that one year, they made like $200,000.
So you just
and I was like sitting there. I was like cheering them on, yeah, go. But then I was like, wait a minute. So I calculating shit. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like here I'm spending money on this, and this. Like, are you kidding me? And like. Everything in hindsight, though. That's what was like my transition to university.
That's
and
okay. That's okay. Okay. You can't just pull that out like that, man. It's like, oh yeah, that's sick, man. What? So okay, whoa, okay. So what was okay? I need to know what was the process like, because like you're a professional. Because I know in professional sports, as a football player or as a basketball player, you get up. You get up at 4, you go to your first training, and you go you eat nutrition, you go to your, what was it like? Was it video games? Like, yo, you get up, you're on the video games, you got to eat right to make sure your hands are working. Like, what? Like,
so what it came down to, so just like there's like practice schedules, matches, all that stuff.
Sick.
And then what accelerated some gamers, it came down to your own vibe, your own science. So straight up, there's the cliche, like, computer nerd who's just locked in their basement, like overweight, all that stuff. Yes. But with some of the teams that were accelerating, with our team, that was we were winning tournaments, but we weren't like one of the top 5 teams. We kind of designed ourselves to being a little bit more of that, call it traditional, maybe athlete. And so what that allowed us to do is we were, on the workout regiment. We were trying to like make sure that we were fit and we looked good in terms of like our aesthetics. And then so we just built out just a series of regiments kind of to that extent. It was all about having the right type of like mindset, and then also being like physically able to like connect with the game. So like, what do I mean by that? I mean, like, we were down, like our experience was like where we would look on a computer screen, we could like control like the movement of the game to exactly where we looked, if that makes sense. So like it was just down to just knowing your game, like knowing almost your craft, your games. And then what made the other gamers accelerate than others came down to just like the science behind it. So what I can like equate to that is like almost having that like being in the zone, being in that euphoria, having like the timing right on every single kind of little piece. And so we just developed and homecrafted that craft. And then what we would do, which is the variable that makes a team, because it was a team-based game I played, was we do like these boot camps where we would all fly to a different city and then just like boot camp for a week or 2 weeks prior to a major tournament to just get our like exactly and get our teamwork in and things like that. So
that is sick.
So how I'm just curious for anyone out there that's trying to get into the gaming industry. What was the process you took, like from starting to where you got to?
Yeah, you know what? It came down to, so it's impossible to like move up the ranks or jump into some of these like upper ranks. So what happened was we were just a team of just young bucks figuring out our game. We started winning local tournaments. And then from those local tournaments, we had like a person came on and said, hey, I can find you sponsors. And they started finding us sponsors. And end of the day, we dominated Canada. Like we destroyed every single person in Canada. So it allowed us to always win the qualifiers and literally attend every single major game. So there was like the Olympics of games where they had like, 72 countries. They had like all these opening ceremonies, like the whole 9. And we would always attend those, and we built relationships and practice schedules with some of the more international teams. And we would only practice with like the higher caliber people because you get bad habits when you start if you start dominating people who are not as skilled. It's a bad habit because no skilled player would do that move or would do that action. And so it just came down to like forming and developing those relationships. And for anyone who's trying to become in gaming or esports, it comes down to you just being disciplined, getting into some of those like tournaments and activities and in-person events, and just showing up and just hopefully delivering on your skills and honing down your craft.
See, there's there's some points that you just brought out there in while you were talking about that I think apply to every craft, right? Like if you want to be good at your photography or your videography or my fitness, I have to be disciplined, right? You also have to look into the little details because like those little details can make a big difference, right?
100%.
Because especially in gaming, right? Like how you move or whatever like that, you might be in the path of line of fire or you might not be in line of fire. Like those little details can destroy your whole team, right?
True.
And because it's a team game, whatever you do also like it's like that book I was reading. It's called I forget what the book is called, but it said that it's talking about the concept of a team, right? And the biggest thing it says that what makes teams fail is that like it's called the 5 dysfunctions of a team. That's what it's called. And I think the first one is a lack of trust. Because if I don't trust you, then like I might be like, you know what? I don't trust that Bobby is gonna be in this position to help heal me or whatever like that. So I'm just gonna come here instead, right? And then if I'm there, then that means that now Ori is not in the right position. Totally. And that affects Bobby, who's not in the right position. And then the whole thing, right?
Crumbles.
And it's it's like a selfish, it's
100%.
Like, it's like a selfish thing. It's like, oh, I want to, like, we're a team here in the podcast, right? But if I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to ask all the questions. You're not going to ask any questions. Even if I think I'm doing well, it's going to look bad because it's going to look like just me asking questions and not, like, you know, he's not engaged.
100%.
So I really like those points. It actually like stood out to me as soon as you said it.
And the other like major thing, which a lot of us sometimes forget, is actually it's showing up. So one of the things before we got the sponsors, before we did that, I mean, I'll never forget this in my life. I took a bus from Edmonton to Dallas, Texas.
What?
Do you know how long that bus ride is?
At least that's a couple of days.
Yo, that is 222 hours or 236 hours.
What? Wait,
bus
what?
ride, a bus ride.
Wait, say the number again.
200 and
sorry. No, actually, no. It was 140 hours.
it was over 100.
Bro,
That's
that's
a lot.
like 3 days.
3
man.
days.
What?
3 days.
You can go to Toronto in that time.
So back then when we were broke and we had no money and everything was on the budget, we knew there was value in just showing up to some of these major
I
tournaments.
agree with you. Oh, definitely.
And it was the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life, but I would argue it was probably literally one of the best things I could have done in terms of trying to become a gamer and perform and things like that.
Yeah.
And like too many times we forget that whether it's we're trying to be a better like athlete or be a better like physical sports, like showing up to some of these major events and activities to connect with people who are on the same path and journey is everything.
True.
Wow.
It is everything.
True.
Wow. You know what's funny that you said that? Like, I'm going to shade myself a little bit. I know Ori wants to do it, but I'll shade myself a little bit. So prior to the podcast right now, right? Like I was telling Ori, I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm prepared enough. I know Bobby's gonna be a good interview. I want to do more. You know, I want to be better. I feel like I'm not prepared enough. And he was like, yo, but why are you stressing? Like, the most important thing is like, yo, you're still gonna show up. And even if it's not that great, we can always redo it again.
100.
But I was like, nah, you know, in my head, right? But he was telling me the exact same thing.
No, showing up is like the biggest thing why I learned that showing up was in jiu-jitsu. I'm not bringing it up a lot, but dog, I stopped for a few times. It changed my mind. When I started, I was always seeing like the blue belts. Like, yo, when am I gonna get mine? Bro, it triggers you. So when I started, I was like, yo, when am I gonna get mine? When am I gonna get mine? I was like, yo, I started working. The same guys I started with, they got their first stripes before me. I was like, yo, what the heck? Like, what's going on? But it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna think about it, but I'm not gonna think about anything. I'm just gonna come every day to the gym and just put in the time. I kept doing it. A day when I didn't even expect it, my professor just came up, had the strap in his hand, and it was like, so today we're gonna do some promotions. All right, I was like, I that felt good. It felt good, but just the same idea where you just said, just showing up. And the thing also I realized is like some days people always say like you don't have to show up and do the craziest stuff, but showing up every day. I don't know if you know this guy, Patrick Bet David. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
I've been telling you recently so much about him.
Yeah.
He said one stuff, which is one day you can bust your ass, like putting on the 100% of work in a day. But that one day won't change anything. It's you coming every day, putting your best every day, trying your best, trying your best, trying your best. That's the result that builds. Because more people will be like, oh, I'm putting hours every day. I'm putting hours every day. Like this week, I spent 30 hours. The next week, how many hours did you spend? 5 hours. Doesn't add up.
100%. It's not consistent.
So
That's just like how with the James Clear with the Ice Cube, right?
Yeah.
Like how that it's not the all the gradual degrees that the ice cube is getting warmer or colder that makes it freeze or melt. But it's not just the 1 degree at the end when it makes 32 degrees to make it melt or freeze or whatever. But it's accumulation of all the little degrees that you're constantly adding to make the big change, right?
Yeah.
So kind of jumping from that, man, like that totally, this guy just threw a little curveball, man. I didn't expect that, but that's dope, man. Like, man, guys, I'm telling you right now, we're going overtime. I'm telling you right now, I'm just making it clear we're gonna go overtime.
a long one.
It's gonna be long, so
it.
just bear in mind. But so you mentioned that you transitioned from video games into the clothing store, into university.
Yeah.
So when I was talking to you, you said you did business and you actually did your clothing store with business, which I thought was really good. It's actually, if I was going to do it, I would do it like that because you literally got to implement the things to see if they were actually working in your favor or not.
It was, in the time of it, in hindsight, yes. While doing it, it was no. It was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
So what I was saying to you was like I had basically a double education. Okay. I had the real world in terms of running a clothing store and trying to implement marketing tactics, business tactics, what I was learning in school. And then I had like the theory that I was learning in school about like, mechanics and things and marketing and how to do store layouts. And so I was able to straight up call bullshit on my professors to say, hey, I did this. I implemented it and it didn't pan out. Yeah. What do you mean by this? And so I had great discussions. But there was a lot of pressure. Like I missed out a lot of the nuances of university of like call it the university lifestyle. Like I literally went to class. As soon as I was done class, I went back to my store. There was no in between. There was no chilling. There was no at the time, like seeing what's going on or what shorties are around. Like there was none of that. It was literally class back to store and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was such a good experience.
Yeah.
Also, having a clothing store, I was always marketing my clothing store. So I was always rocking some different styles and different things to kind of look fresh, to like attract people, to then pull them into my clothing store. Yeah. But it's such a great kind of duality to kind of have both those educations. But straight up, like that cliche, C's will get you degrees, is facts. Like I was not an A and B student. I was like a C and D student. Yeah. And the reason why I always say it was like, I would always look at it from this perspective. Like, do I want to get, which, yes, some people need to get their flying colors and their A's and B's because they're going to use this to get their next step up, whether that's getting their master's or things like that. But I was like, look, I'm building a clothing store. I'm building a business. I need to spend my time there and make sure I'm still getting by with university. Yeah. So straight up, I would do what I need to get done and then immediately go straight to work around my business. Yeah. And I remember, I'll never forget this. I was in the middle of finals during the wintertime, which is literally like right now is go time for stores, like clothing stores. Like you're going into your holiday season, you're getting all your inventory, you got to process all of that. You got your Christmas season where everyone's buying gifts. And so imagine, like I remember I had so many people blowing up my phone like, hey, like when are you coming back to the store? We got this, and this, while I'm trying to like cram quickly into this final exam that I have. And so it was very difficult, but then I got like I said, I got 2 degrees. I got my degree I got from university, and I got call it a degree of business of the real world.
Would you say, so I have a question. So while you were going to school, right, and you're working on your business, did you ever find that like at times you're like, because you're so passionate about your clothing store that you couldn't really focus on school? Or is it because they were both, like, one was helping the other, it kind of helped with that?
I found purpose in my schoolwork because I always used and modeled after my business. So whenever I needed a business, like I had a class where I do a business plan. Guess what business plan I'm going to do? My clothing store. And I pushed it on my group. Whenever, for some of the other, I guess you could say, like, different classes that were, I don't know, just abstract, like sociology, studying people, I would always apply it to like, okay, cool. How do I study consumer behavior?
Yeah.
Why the way people buy and things like that. And so I'd always try to like find a route to go back to fashion or the studying of people or the people's shopping habits to make it more applicable and relatable so I can get through it.
Yeah. So I guess what you were doing was, in order for you to push your school, you were using your fashion business to give you that motivation to keep doing school stuff.
100%. Because the one thing I always recommend, and we kind of dove deep into this, or started touching the surface, is anyone who's right now in school.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, at times school kind of feels like it's a grind. It's like what's this about? Like, I just want to get through it so I can start my real life or whatever.
Yeah.
I would always recommend get your side hustle or get a project going that you can kind of pair with it.
Yeah.
So you get the practicality and then you can start implementing what you're learning instantaneously so you learn it better or understand it better.
True.
Yeah.
Because too many of us, especially if you're going around the angle of business, like why would you not want to start a business and a real business while you're in school? Like it's literally the perfect dynamic because you can start implementing, you can start executing, it'll help you study to understand.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, what happens if that starts picking up traction and it becomes something that then you can pursue or then
Right
use
after
into your
school,
portfolio things.
Yeah,
That's true.
And I think that's a super dope thing. Actually, is that like that's something. If like honestly, when you told me that, I was like, man,
I never
even thought about that. But especially for me, I think that would have been super beneficial, just because of the type of learner that I am. Like I'm a very like physical. Like I need to see it or like see how it's done. Like I pick up things very quickly, like mechanically and stuff. Like if you show me something, I can pick it up. But like theory, just telling me, I'm like, I get tired. I don't want to hear
That's
it.
why I never went to university.
You know?
I went to Nate, so it's a practical school because like my head is like, why am I sitting down studying all this if I'm not actually knowing the practical side of it?
100% though, because like you're right. It comes down to what kind of learner you are. Because if you are a person who needs to be physically doing it or play it out, then like that's the best route. And also, let's be honest, most students and people are gaming learning, if that makes sense. Like there is like a hustle to like get through school. There's a tactic.
Yeah.
And so yes, that's great. Use the tactic to get through school, but is that actually gonna work in the real life? You know, when it comes to like really putting your knowledge to use, it's a whole different other game and dynamic. Like
it is.
School is its own bubble and shell. So why not try to figure out that bridge? Because that's what makes most students, as soon as they're done university or post-secondary, struggle.
Yeah.
Where they can't get jobs or nothing. It's because they don't understand that this is now the real world. No, you're not going to have the fairy cookie cutter safe place.
Yeah,
no one's grading you. It's like, you did that wrong. You're out. Like, you know,
you're
out. You're out.
Like, you're good.
Like, why?
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah.
Like,
And I think I talked about this. I can't remember what episode it was. Where I think it was Kutsina. Kutsina. Where you're just talking about the reward. So I finished school, I got a job, and realistically, I had no idea why. 2-3 was it a month? I think it was a month and a half. This guy just pulled up in. I was like, hey, can I talk to you? I already knew what was going on. And I was like, you have to go. Like live. And that right there was like a reality check. So just like what you said, where people finish school, they go to school, they're studying, getting all the A's, and then they're done with school, and then they start applying on Indeed, and they constantly tell them, you have zero experience, you have zero experience. But like if you were doing the idea what you did, like literally you have literally a proof to show that, hey,
100%. This is what I've been doing while going, like, and you have more merit than just that degree.
Yeah.
Because I like at the time when I graduated, what happened was a lot of people then would go in that little hustle and then go right back to school.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would be like,
Cycle.
I'm like, why? And like not even go up to school to get their like, call it doctorate or or other like their law degree or stuff like that. They went to school to get another undergrad degree.
you have somebody doing that right now.
Suyashi, call you out, man.
I literally broached this guy. So I don't care. I'll put him on the blast. I do it in person. I can do it over the video. So
True stuff.
he started with, I think he took architectural technology in it. Finished it. Went back to school. Took carpentry. Finished it. Going back to school again.
But you know what?
But you know what though?
That takes so much. I
But
don't like.
there is one thing though. I told him this. I'm like, yo. So now he's going
master.
back to school to take marketing. No. Now what you just said, I'm gonna like, yo, watch this episode because like. He has two amazing skills.
100%.
Like you're an architect and then you know carpentry.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to school for marketing. I'm literally going to try and push him to watch this episode. Can actually follow your full like what you did, because you can literally start a business around carpentry right there.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's no.
And it's a cycle that is a partial trap, because you think school is the solution to finally break through, and it's not.
That's not. No.
It's getting real experience. It's like, to be honest, starting a business, failing, and learning from that.
Yeah.
Like like that. Like if he started a business and failed, he would learn more than going through
back to
his
school.
school.
That's
He'll learn so much more at a cheaper price.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
That's
true.
That's something that I really, really resonate with, just because like I didn't complete school, so I don't have a degree or anything to show for it, right? And like the thing is for me is that I feel like those, maybe because okay, part of it is on me too. I mean, I wasn't always focused and stuff like that, but those 3 years that I was in school, I literally do not feel like I learned anything. I don't.
Yeah.
And the 2 years that I left school and I went and I worked and stuff like that, I felt like I learned so many different things, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that school is bad. School is this. I don't think school is for everyone, and I think there's different ways to learn too. You know, so like
100%. And it's not an end all be all, because
No.
again, so I graduated from university in 2010. My marketing degree is completely outdated.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even, at the time, we didn't even talk about social media as an example. So like, if my marketing degree is completely outdated, it's like, well, then how do I know what I know when it comes to marketing or social media things? And it's because like I'm a self-learner. Like I will read my books, I'll attend my seminars, I'll watch stuff. Like I will dive deep, and that's what kind of learner I am. So if you are not that type of learner, then yes, go to school, because you need this information. But in life, you need to be a perpetual learner.
Yeah.
You got to figure out things. You got to be like, hey, like I don't understand this. Let me YouTube it. Let me ask a buddy. Let me ask a friend. Let me ask a mentor. Let's figure it out, because that's the one variable that will keep you going, especially in a world like now where literally because of technology, things are moving like this.
It's fast.
You have to.
You have to
You
know.
have to.
Yeah, I agree.
So let me ask you a question, because I think it's something that I struggle with at times too. How do you go about how do you go about learning?
So
And how do you not only go about learning, but how do you apply what you learn? Because application is one of the biggest things. Me and Ori talk about it like very frequently.
So in a world that like literally because of YouTube and Google, we can learn how to do anything. There's nothing outside our reach.
Realistically, yeah.
I believe the trick is to only learn what you need to learn right now, if that makes sense. So what I would do, for example, I've been obsessing about this notion of becoming a better speaker, becoming a better communicator.
Yeah.
So I went down a series of rabbit holes. So I started reading lots. There's this awesome book called, I can't think of it right now, but it's about how to become a better storyteller, how to like tap into the narrative of telling a great story and like having tone and pitch. So I went down that rabbit hole. I would first I'd listen to the audiobook. I would read the book. I'd break down some notes around that and say, this is dope. Then because of the internet, I have fallen in love with e-learning in respect to these cohort-based classes. So in order for me to become a better storyteller, I joined up with this cohort, a group of people, and I've like become in this small community where we teach, learn of other people who are on the same journey across the world, how to become a better communicator. Through conversations, through speeches, through improv, through all these different things. And so I try to practice what I'm doing every single day, and I integrate it into my life as like just an example of that like little trend. And when it comes to sort of my business of like being production, so videography, audio, photography, things like that, I'm all self-taught through YouTube and things like that. And so what I would do is I'd be like, frick, like how do I edit a wicked opener like this? So go on YouTube, how to open an opener, read all these YouTube tutorials, figure it out, and then implement it. And then that's my new skill set that I would start to do, because I needed to figure out that one little aspect.
Okay. So, okay. Now that you said that, right? That you say, okay, you go on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like to say like you have like a degree in this video production, right? No. But you have learned enough so that you can actually teach somebody. You're credible so that you can teach somebody, right?
Yeah.
But how, I guess the question that I have for you is like, how do you not like doubt or question yourself, because like it's not like it like you don't have. I think because of how society has made it, like you always have to have like where's your papers? Like, you went to,
Totally. So, another great question. I have like this. I obsess about a lot of things. One of the things I obsess about is this notion of self-reflection and understanding one's true self. What you're speaking about is we all have this fear of this like imposter syndrome. Like as if what I have to say won't bring people value, so I need to learn more. I need to become a master. I need to have this random certificate, which is artificial. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because if you think about it, whether it's a year from now or like a year in the past or 5 years ago, you started at one point in time not understanding a specific concept or topic with your skill set. And just imagine if you could teach yourself a year ago what you know today. And I'm sure that would be night and day. And what you need to kind of understand is the best teachers are the ones who just experience that particular phase, that typical part of life, and not necessarily the tenured professor or expert, because you were just there. So like, again, the concept is like this. So you're teaching someone who's, let's take, for example, video. So like I've been doing video for the last decade. So it'd be better for me to teach someone this aspect I just learned yesterday than if it was for me to teach someone from the difference from like a decade to now, because I remember what was it like when I didn't know that one thing. I'm better off teaching someone. Again, I've been learning a lot about this notion of becoming a better speaker over the past 7 months, and I'm better off teaching someone that who's just starting, because I remember what was it like when I had no clue and I was just starting that process. So sometimes, quote unquote, you being still new at this is actually at your benefit, because you can relate and teach someone who has never been in that space before, who doesn't understand that. And the way that you truly get over that hump of this like imposter syndrome is, honestly, you gotta just do it. You gotta just do it. And when you do it, watch how someone one day is gonna be like, hey, you know what? Thank you. Like what you just did was a breakthrough, and now I can do this and this. And once you get that taste, that's it. That's it.
It's over.
You just gotta do it. And start small, because we sometimes fall into this trap because of the world that we see in terms of YouTube, that you see these people, these big epic followings, and they're teaching these big classes and all that stuff. Like, that's all bullshit. Like, if you taught 3 people, 2 people, 1 person, it just starts there. And then once you win and see some successes and see some losses, you redefine it, you reshape it, you refix it, you rejig it, you keep working that structure. And then suddenly, now you can manage the 10 people or the 5 people, and it just grows from there. But it's all about just starting and not forgetting you have value to teach someone.
Because everything you just said, I love it. Because like it fell down with the same stuff. I recently started a YouTube channel. Before I started, I was telling him constantly, I want to start a YouTube channel. I'll tell you how I started. So I went out to Elk Island, saw the nice view, whatever. As soon as I came home, I didn't do anything else. Took a camera, took a tripod, put a mic on, and just recorded. I didn't care if it was the best. I didn't care nothing. And I just posted it. After posting it, I saw the comments. I was like, yo, proud of you. Because a lot of people, the biggest problem I realized, like, yo, is starting. Because when you start, the moment you just get one person to give you credit for what you're doing, it's over. Because it feels good.
100%.
Like, yo, oh, wow, this is how it feels. And then after starting, there's this guy I follow. Like, I don't know if you've seen them, or you probably might have. Think Media. Yeah. So this guy had a saying. He has a saying where he's like, you got to start when you're not prepared.
100%.
Which is like, you don't have to have like everything to get going. No, you just have to have. You need to have enough. You can start with to go from there. PewDiePie? No, what's his name? Mr. Beast. His first video, I think, was his phone.
Well, or his many videos out the hot were off his phone. Like, he had challenges like, I think it was like some like stupid shit. Like, let me say the alphabet for the next 14 hours, and that's what you do. Like, people forget, before he was doing his like, let me give away $2 million, he was doing challenges like that. And so again, it's funny when you track back straight up any of your idols. It doesn't matter if they're superstars to the YouTubers. You go to their first piece of content, it was complete garbage.
Fact.
It's complete garbage.
that's
It
true.
was trash.
And they built it up to here, and we forget that, and we see the end result where they are today after putting out that stuff, and we don't understand. You don't start from nothing to that.
Yeah.
And when you do see that happen, these people have been doing something else in the background.
Yeah.
These people have been movie stars and talk show hosts, so they started their YouTube channel with like a slam.
Stop, yeah.
Will Smith started with a slam because it's Will Smith.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true, yeah.
Like that's why he could jump on YouTube and all the TikTok and kill it,
yeah,
because of his
the
years of
years.
killing it.
Yeah, it's been had the
so,
experience. That's
so
true.
so too many of us fall into that trap.
You know what you just described? You just described the Grind Theory podcast. like actually, literally, that's literally you described it, because the whole point of the Grind Theory podcast is to like I said, most people only see the end goal, the end result, right? They don't see the big mansion or the big house or like you said, the big following, right?
Yeah.
But they don't see all the struggles and obstacles that person had to go through to get to that point.
100%.
And then how they overcame them and what they learned from it, you know? So
Nah, I love that saying. I'm gonna probably add to it too. And I already mentioned him again. Like I would anyone like literally check him out, Patrick.
I should probably
David.
start tagging him, actually.
No,
That's
really,
fine.
because like
Yeah.
I watched a recent video of his, and he gave a first step. The first step to actually being a successful like entrepreneur. It was like the first question you should ask yourself is like, what is your dream? Like your biggest dream. Don't even hold back. Like it can be you want to be living on the moon. Don't hold back. Then the next question was, how demanding is this stuff gonna be? Like, you need to put 20 hours, 30 hours a week, 80 hours a week. How much you need to put in? The third question was, this was where he said a lot of people usually fail. Are you willing to put in that demanding hours into your dream? Then after that question, a lot of people probably say no and they give up. But it was like, even if you say no, you say yes, then close your eyes and imagine that dream happening. Because the moment you do that fourth one and you just imagine in your head, like, yo, I'm living my lifestyle. Maybe your lifestyle is I want to be financially successful, provide for my family. And you close your eye and you have a taste of how that is.
Yeah.
It switches everything.
So if you
Well,
can
it
Switches everything. Like recently, I've been following him because I'm trying to really understand like the bit. Right now, I think I told you.
Yeah.
My head, like I'm focused on understanding like business.
Totally.
Because like because you can have the craft you can learn.
Yeah.
But once you understand business, it's a different ball game. But
Totally.
yeah, but that's off track. But
Once you can
what
see
you
it,
said
you have
is
it.
perfect.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the one thing that's sometimes overlooked, and it's like on what you said for step 3,
Yeah.
is like you gotta love what you do.
True.
And the reason why you gotta love what you do is because straight up at times, if you don't want to, like there's someone out there who they truly, that's what they love to do. They love to just edit videos. They love to just like figure out these little intricacies of audio.
Yeah, true.
And they will outperform you because that's what they love to do.
Yeah.
It's not a grind to them. They would rather, there's nothing else they'd rather do but that. And we lose sight of that variable of like, do I actually love this? Or am I just doing this because it's
To means
exactly, or it's like the hot thing to do, or it's the most popular thing to do, or the cool thing to do. I think, to be honest, I don't think everyone's an entrepreneur.
definitely.
I think there's some people who truly just get a job, and like I don't say that as like it's a bad thing. Like let's be honest, there's countless people who are making millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, a lot more money than me, who have jobs.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's what they're doing, that's what they excel at, and. Too many times we fall into these traps of taking these decisions, not understanding that, hey, entrepreneurship's a lonely road.
It is.
It is a sad road. You meet obstacles. You are lonely.
Definitely.
You have to make choices. I had to make so many sacrifices of birthdays, parties, celebrations,
Definitely.
births, like everything,
Lose friends.
because I had to choose to open up my clothing store, to choose to run my business, to make those hard decisions. And it's not for everyone, because if you go the other direction, then you're, to be honest, you're making the wrong choice. And if you rather do that, which is totally fine, don't get into entrepreneurship. Don't get into small business.
Yeah.
Go, because like small business is golden handcuffs. You think that having your business means that you have control of your own time? No, you don't.
24/7.
There is 100%. I don't have downtime.
Yeah.
There's no downtime. I'm always on.
Yeah.
I'm always doing something in some shape or form that's going to map to my business.
Yeah.
In some shape or form.
Have
And
to.
it's not for everyone. While a 9 to 5, you could turn right off. Once that 5 hits, I'm out.
I'm out. You're done.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
That's true. I mean, you have to have that burning desire.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with failure.
Yeah.
Be comfortable with failure.
Dive into the next one.
So okay. So I know we went on a little bit, but like I said, I already told y'all what it's gonna be. Like I don't even care.
We got the cameras right now, so in case yours is recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so in case whichever one dies,
we got
backup. We ready.
Yeah.
We ready. No, so so you open your clothing store, right?
Yeah.
And finishing university, did you still have your clothing store?
Yeah. So I had my clothing store for 5.5 years. So ran it outside of university for another 2 years, and then unfortunately we failed. We had to close shop. We had to end that business due to the competitive nature, to be honest, due to bad ownership, because I think a lot of failures are about people. So it was just how we managed it. We could have made better choices. And so at the end of the day, we had to make a decision, and we had to close shop.
So
and that hurt.
Yeah, I believe you. How was it to make that, like, because especially if it's a business that you started, you know, like that, like
hurt. Like first off, my first business was my baby. Still is my baby. And like branding yourself making this you, having people like, oh, like the store was called Room 322, so people be like, yo, Room 322, like people who didn't know me, but like that was my nickname. I was the store was me. And then suddenly where people see in the streets to say like, hey, what's up? Like oh, my store is closed. And like, oh, what? Store's closed? Why? Everyone said that. It hurt. Yeah. And like being comfortable with that was not easy. It was a challenge because again, none of us want to be perceived as a failure. None of us don't want to be looked down upon like, oh, that sucks. What happened, man? Like, you okay? Like, what are you going to do now? That was the next question. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And then you have like the other side where people are like, yo, oh, your store was so dope, man. I wanted to shop there. It's like, yo, well,
why did you?
That's true.
Like 5.5 years. Like, yo, where were you? You know? And then like I got the whole gamut of all of that. So like it was vexing and it was like challenging. But like you have to push through, and so that's where you like the lead up to that choice of like closing down was it was painful. Of like saying no, we can keep doing it, trying to be positive, like no, we can hold out another month, but like yo, that monthly rent bill is heavy. It is heavy, and when the dollars are not matching, when the inventory is not matching, you have to make a decision that's best, and so. It was challenging. It was heart-wrenching. It was heartbreaking. But have to embrace failure. You have to get comfortable with it. And I had no other choice. Like dollars were drying up. What do you do?
So, okay. After going through something like that, right, where you lost your business, what gave you the confidence to start another one?
So out of necessity and out of, to be honest, this itch that I had. This itch to still dabble in this whole thing. The one thing that I grew that I found out I truly loved about business was connecting with people, having these relationships, having these connections to people who were, call it decision makers, whether it's other business owners, other managers, other CEOs, or even to other just general managers. So I wanted that experience again. I needed that experience again. So the first other business I went into, again, I was hosting these events under this brand called Tastemakers, where we were doing these pop-up experiences because I wanted to connect with more decision makers. I wanted to connect with more influencers. And so I kind of ran that. And that kind of brought me back up to speed again of like getting my taste of business. I then also was obsessing about retail. I still loved it. And I wanted to figure out, to be honest, how can I do it better? Because I wanted to get back into it. I wanted to have another swing at it. So I joined up with like Hudson's Bay, part of their management team. So I wanted to know how these big boxes do it. And so I want to see how the behind the scenes are. So I did that for about 3 years. It was dope, it was good. But then I was also still on the side hustle, doing a lot of marketing, starting to do a lot of like video production and things. And then that started dialing up where I said, okay, cool. I'm learned what I think I've learned at Hudson's Bay around retail. So let me now go back full time into just like managing myself, managing my business, and then kind of never look back since.
So you said something that I really love, which was you knew you needed to learn more, but what you did was instead of trying to start your own stuff and learn it, you humbled yourself, went under somebody's what's it called, roof, learned the skills, and then you decided to go out and start doing your own stuff.
What?
I love that answer.
The biggest idiotic thing that I did, and I had two other business partners open my clothing store with, was none of us had a retail experience. Yeah. Dumbest thing ever. Like, why? Yeah. Like, I could have for the life of me just went under another group, been just a standard employee, and learned while getting paid, learned the playbook, learned how they built the scenes before I started my stuff. Like, too many times as pride, we think, no, I can just do that. Like, I like fashion. I like clothes. Yeah. Idiotic. Yeah. Like, dumb. Instead, literally go into another smaller business that you like, that's doing the same thing or similar thing you want, and learn their playbook. Yeah. Learn how they manage from inventory to accounting to numbers to employees. Right you need to not do that is literally the dumbest thing you can do, because you're going to lose so much money. Yeah. I have this epic book called The Things Not to Do when opening up a clothing store. And that's number one. Going to the clothing store with no experience. Because it makes no sense. Yeah. It makes no sense.
I think I personally think it actually even applies to anything outside not even the 9 to 5, but anything outside the 9 to 5. So if you're trying to start your own business. Like, if you're trying to be a photographer, when I started, I was doing what's it called, internship with somebody. Mm-hmm. I wasn't getting paid. I was going like morning to nights doing photo shoots, just learning under him, watching him how it works, watching how he interacts with clients, watching how he interacts with models. Did that for like a year and a half because I had to move. If I was still with him, I'd be way better than what I am right now. But I left, started applying everything I learned with him, and then boom. Like, even when now, I think I was saying to him, I haven't told you yet, I'm trying to dive into the video space. Yep. I know I can start on my own, which is okay, but like, I still don't really have that much experience in the industry. I can humble myself, work with somebody for like a year, 2 years, see how that person works, add value to that person.
100%.
And then you start your own stuff if you want to. So,
because you, and like what you said there is so important. Like interning and doing it for free is literally the smartest thing you do. Yeah. Like, if you could be as close as so let's say whether it's that or if you're trying to work with business, like trying to be as close as possible to that decision maker, that top person is super important, because then you can start getting all those nuances and be transparent. Like, look, I'm trying to open up my own shop, my own field, my own photography, videography, space. Yeah. So I want to pick your brain, but I'm going to intern for you and I'll do whatever you want and need. Yeah. Smartest thing you could ever do. Smartest. That will save you hundreds, if not tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah, because worth every penny.
As long as a person knows I'm not paying you and you're adding value for me, it's over.
And even better, if that person will eventually see themselves in you, because they remember when they were just starting. That's true. And if you can get that relationship going, that's like... That is literally the smartest thing. Like, that investment of time that you might be losing because you're not working is going to pay itself tremendously more in dividends because of the money that you're going to save, because you're going to have a playbook and understanding on how to do what you need to do to be successful and not struggle in that. Because I'll tell you, the first 2 years of my retail store business was a struggle. Yeah. Like, we were figuring things out at our own dollar because it's time. Yeah. Months, every rent. Bills weren't paused for us. Like, we still have to pay our bills regardless. And so because of that, that's, in my opinion, what killed us. Is off the hop. We weren't out the gate. Okay, here's the playbook. Bang, 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 bang. Okay, cool. Phase 2, bang, bang, bang. We didn't have that playbook. Yeah. We were figuring shit out. Then we finally had a playbook after 2 years. Then we started getting momentum.
So I have a question to ask. I don't know. You want to go first? Go ahead. So you mentioned that playbook. My question is there a way you can develop a playbook you can follow, but while still doing it on your own? So say, for example, the playbook you have right now, the first things to do if you want to start a clothing store. Say I had that playbook right in front of me, like a step-by-step guide I can take. Yeah. Is it possible for me to follow that playbook, like break it down piece by piece, understand it, without going to work on somebody?
Yes. No, 100%. Yes, because you'll there's nuances around that. So let's say, for example, traditional playbook is like, you got to get tight with your budget. How much your things are costing, figuring out those numbers, because end of the day, a business is about numbers. If your business is not making growth or positive numbers, then you don't have a business. You know, you have a hobby. You have
even in the beginning,
because a business is something that's consistently growing. It's bringing revenue. That's the nature and the essence of what a business is. If it's not bringing you revenue, then it's a hobby, because you're paying to do whatever you're doing. So because of that, like that kind of mechanics, having a playbook and following step by step, yes, you can have sort of these degrees of how to set up shop, how to set up your business, how to set up all these logistics to then quickly start moving and going, which doesn't require you necessarily interning somewhere. The reason why interning somewhere has so much power and value is there's a lot of nuances that don't just fall in paper, that will never be truly documented.
That's true.
You don't know how to negotiate necessarily a lease when it's your first lease you're ever getting, where you need to negotiate that thing. And if you don't if you're not educated in that, and bottom line experience, you're gonna get eaten alive. My first lease that I signed, eaten alive, eaten. And if I was ever prepared in terms of understanding that, hey, since we're going to invest this much money into renovating that we don't get to keep, we don't get to take from the space, we should then negotiate this much free rent. We should get this much more possibly reduction to then level up. Then what are we doing? So because of that, we didn't know. So we got eaten alive. Because it is like a dog eat dog world. Like people think business is not safe. It's not like a nice guy world. Hey, you're brand new. Okay, cool. I'll be nice and get the hell out of here. It's gonna be like, cool. Sign this, and this is what it is. Little did you know that no, you need to go this, and this. Like, are you crazy? Like, absolutely not. We needed this. So because we lacked that understanding and the cliche, we didn't know how to read contracts properly. Like, being prepared for that would be important. Understanding that playbook of then making sure that, hey, make sure you have a lawyer on your team to just kind of review that so that it's in your best interest. If that's not your forte, make sure you have an accountant as your best friend so that your numbers are making sense and you're always on top of it. Those are like the nuances that you can implement and learn to then like execute. And then in that respect of interning, again, there's like the nuances. For example, and I've been using this clothing store analogy a lot, but we didn't know. We thought in the clothing world is get some money, go to this fashion brand that you like, go buy their clothes and bring it. Hell no. It doesn't work like that at all. No. It comes down to, does this fashion brand like you? Do they relate to you? What other brands do you have in your store? Again, do I like you? If I don't like you, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care. I'm selling my brand. Like, think of some of the hot brands out there. Like, I'm pushing it. I don't care. Who are you? And so we had to build that relationship. We had to like find different people to introduce us to these individuals. We had to show up at like different conventions in Vegas and things like that, just to show presence that here we are and this is how we are and this is our thoughts and this is what we're trying to do in our city. Like, it was a whole other dynamic that we didn't learn until a good friend of mine who we didn't know at the time introduced us to that and educated us and brought us through this whole process. And shout out to Jonathan for that.
Big up, Jonathan.
I like that. Damn. So, but another question I have is, because I'm a big believer in applying what you're learning.
100%.
So my question, because that's why I'm asking about that playbook. So would you say, instead of going for internship, finding a mentor can replace that? What would you say?
It depends on what you're trying to do.
Okay.
If you're truly committed to opening up a business, I would say go for the internship, because you're going to learn some nuances that you'll never learn. You're going to learn some downs that you will never learn. The problem with the playbook won't have what happens when you hit.
Well, no, not the playbook. No. My question is, you have the playbook. But you also have somebody in that industry that you can take under as a like you can be like a mentee?
Mentor.
Totally.
He can be a mentor for you.
Yeah, it can be a mentor for you. So would you say that can like... You
could do, I would say, first off, all above. So when I had my clothing store, there's a guy, have you guys heard of Foosh? Foosh is a streetwear brand on White Ave. It's dope spot. They have a series of different brands and stuff like that. Awesome owner. When we opened up our store, this guy who owns it, named Justin, was basically our mentor. He kind of started showing us the ropes around streetwear fashion and like managing a clothing store in the city.
Yeah.
So while we were building it, we were also finding different mentors and other business owners who are not necessarily in the lane of fashion, but were in like furniture or other places who are also giving us advice around building a business. So we were still going that mentorship route while building our business and kind of applying stuff while formulating our own playbook and things. And again, I think the most powerful thing, again, would be that internship, that job, that role somewhere up top to then get some of that information, get some of those, take some of those like kind of pieces and nuances to then apply to your own business, because you have basically a space to experiment and test, see if it works. It works, cool. Now I know that I should implement this in my business.
Yeah, because the reason why I'm asking is like right now, like I said, I'm in the photo space. I'm trying to dive into the video space. Same with Akil. Akil's trying to dive into like the fitness and the mindset. And the reason why I'm asking is like we have, I can probably say a decent amount of skills like start on our own. But there's like I always say, I learned this from my photography, which is there's a difference between having a craft and running a business.
It's two different things, and so my father recently opened up a restaurant, and about 4 years ago he opened up a restaurant, and he closed down right when the pandemic hit, thankfully, because his lease was up, because restaurants, destruction and obliteration. And the one issue with these restaurants, what happened was like him and his and like sort of like my mother-in-law, they were obsessed about the cooking of the food. They were like obsessed about providing these awesome meals. And that's not what a restaurant's about. A restaurant's about running a business. It's about driving your food costs down. It's about finding the like freshest food suppliers to make sure that your product is consistent. That's what it's about. It's not about the food, if that makes sense. It's two different worlds.
All those little things will make the food better.
100%. It's about finding the employees and making sure they are trained in sort of a format so that people can get a similar experience or a consistent experience. And it dials into the food, it dials into the taste, it dials into the whole aesthetic. So if you lose sight of this will crumble. Straight out, I'll say that it'll crumble.
I like that, because if I'm getting you right, all like that one little thing. Okay, the food is what the restaurant makes, right? People come and buy the food, but like all the little things, like if you don't have your accounts right, then the bills are not paid on time, then you won't even have light or water to even get water or to have light in the building. So all those things are part of the experience. When they come into the building, like you come into this podcast, right? If we didn't have no lights, we're just doing this in the, it's part of the experience. Even though it doesn't matter, right now it does, but like, you know what I mean, right?
Totally. And about the process. So imagine now, like, to be honest, I don't know what the dynamic is of who does what, who sets up the mics, who sets up the audio and things, but what if one of you guys are missing out of the picture? Can you still do that? Can you still execute on the podcast? And the question is there a playbook to fulfill that? So what happens now, for whatever reason, both of you are just busy on your own ventures and stuff. Could this podcast still exist where you implement someone else to kind of take on the same essence, but you two are just out of the picture? Like, that's what will make this podcast have some longevity. Yes, it's about you guys, and yes, it's about what you have to bring, but what happens if you guys took a step back? Could this still function? It goes back to a restaurant as a good analogy. The chef of the restaurant, if she was ever sick, it's it. Because there's no one who knows how to cook the way she does, or doesn't have the exact ingredient list on how to make that particular dish or things like that. And I think a lot of our businesses that we're doing needs to be systematized and have the processes developed.
So you're saying
mash up, man.
You just said one. I can't remember what book it is.
James Clear.
Yeah, it was James Clear. Where it was talking about atomic habits and making a system.
That is absolutely everything.
Yeah, I think once you have because even with the St. Patrick Bet David too, it was like a system. Once you have a system, it makes life easy. Especially, I know we said one stuff that really stood out to me, where it was like, make a system that will make you walk less. Because when you walk less, you're thinking less. Because when you're thinking less, you're using less energy. You can apply it to different stuff.
100%, because you have a process.
Yeah.
So I've been obsessing with that, and that book is amazing, to the point that like I don't think about like again that task. I think about how does it look like to break it into a process, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I mean, a simple checklist of things what you need to do is the way to kind of make things flow better.
Give me an example, because I'm trying to think of it, but give me an example of how you would break it down to make like a system.
So, for example, let's say, again, for my podcast, what I do is when I record a podcast, I have my checklist to make sure I have all my setup from like hitting record and all my other things. Yeah. But then once my podcast is done, that's when I record my recap. That's when I like kind of quickly have my draw of saying like, hey, everybody, like this is what like kind of the show notes and the summary. Yeah. Once I have the show notes and summary, as I check that list off, I then record, because I'm still feeling and I just did the podcast, I instantly dive deep into a particular topic that I loved. Like depending on how that conversation went. Yeah. That same day. And then I go deep into that, and I kind of have this, if you want to say, verbal dump around that. Yeah. And I have all that content information, and I send that all to like my team to then create into a blog post, to then create into notes, and to translate to like kind of then start working the whole system. So I have like a checklist of deliverables that I need to do every single podcast to kind of get that same consistency. And I also then have my show notes, my other details kind of listed off. So then I quickly just go one by one around that.
This guy's busting my head. I'm busting my head right now, man.
The thing is, I've always been I know for a fact that system does so much.
Oh, it's everything.
It's everything. So I haven't have a follow up to that. You already kind of touched it, which was when I was gonna ask you about like making a system. So now I have another question for you. So my question now is falling back to the same stuff where we talked about, where you were like, so are you out? This might be kind of generalizing the whole conversation we've had, which is, let's say there's somebody out there. Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to start a business. Yeah. It can be anything. What are the advice, and like, give like a steps, like a step you think the person can follow on how to go about it.
So, say if you want to start a business, the first thing you need to do is like get truly an understanding of what that business is, and the business of it, not the task of it. You want to usually. Great cooks want to start restaurants, not understanding really what's the business of restaurants. There's a lot of people who love fashion but don't understand the business of retail. So you need to understand the business side of that aspect. If you're into sort of like health and like development of like people's like physical conditioning, you need to understand the business of that and what that looks like. Once you get that information, start researching and looking at different groups, brands that are doing something similar that you like. The reason why is it's great to kind of model what you're doing after something. So you have like a template, you have a North Star, you have something to kind of almost model. So then you're building your craft, but seeing something different. Yeah. After that step is I think you should immediately, if possible, intern somewhere, get a job somewhere so that you can learn the nuances while doing it. In that process of like that research and development side is I'm a fan of creating what you call like a minimal viable product. Okay. Too many times people ask their friends and family like, hey, if I did this business, would you like it? Would you join it? Would you blah, blah, support it? And everyone's like, yeah, of course. No, they will not. What you need to do is you need to create the actual real thing and basically see if you can actually sign someone up to pay you for that service, for that product. So if you're selling a good or something like that, get a whole bunch of pre-purchases that then if you hit that certain threshold, be like, okay, cool, now I gotta like make this. Now I gotta implement this. After that, it comes down to then just developing kind of the key fundamental things of business. So having, again, it's a cliche. The reason why a business plan is important, and it's not important, but it's important, is because you need to have some type of structure of what you're doing. You need to have some type of like figuring, like plan. So create a business plan for a year, not 5 years, none of that stupidness, because businesses are changing too quick like that. Get a business model so you understand that, okay, cool, who's our suppliers? Who's our key, call it key, I guess you could say complementary groups who would utilize our service. So for example, if I'm a photographer, I better start to know different people from different businesses who might need photography. I might need to know as like someone who's going to sports health and stuff like that. I need to have some co-partners who can feed my business different individuals, different people to complement my own marketing.
Yeah.
And then after that, it comes down to like the basics of just like, let me try this experiment, this minimal viable product, this thing, try to get people to subscribe to it, purchase it, and then from there, just experiment and try and be comfortable with failure. I mean, comfortable with losing to then reinvent.
Dumping the whole gem, the whole bucket of gems,
for
man.
days. No. I love that. I love that idea. Especially the first one, especially on the last.
Yeah.
So no one really knows this. I've never really talked about it too much. I run the photographic business I'm running right now. I'm struggling, like straight up. I think I've told you before. I'm struggling, and the first step you said was the first mistake I made when I started, which was I never sat down to actually understand deep down understand the business side of it. I always thought in my head, I was just like, you know what? Just keep shooting. The clients are gonna come to you. Nope. You gotta network, meet the right person, chase after them. That's why what I want to get into now. I told myself never. I'm not making that same mistake. It hurt. Like no one really it actually hurts to say that, yo, I'm not successful in this. And when people see my work and they say, yo, bro, you should be making like tons of money from this stuff. And bro, it actually hurts.
100%. Because we lose sight as creators.
Yeah.
We get so deep into our craft that we think our craft will then translate to a business, and it doesn't work like that. Clients and people don't do business with necessarily the best product, the best photographer, the best shooter, the most educated person. To be honest, they do business with people who they like and who they know.
Yeah.
So it's about building those relationships. Relationships are everything. It's access to everything.
True.
So when you build those relationships and start to land those projects, that's when you start to dial in your craft and those nuances and dialing up your whatever you're trying to like kind of go, whether it's around education or whether it's around that refinement of taste and respect to driving levels.
Yeah.
And so again, I would say work on the relationships more than anything. And it's like, so what does that mean? Like, what the hell does that mean? It means showing up places. Yeah. It means that the people around you, what they're doing now, they might be that client. They might start a business that might need your service 5 years from now, 3 years from now. So start building those relationships also. And then after that, it's about selling yourself and being able to tell yourself. Yeah. The reason why I've been obsessing about this notion of being a better communicator is because life is all about communication. It's about truly understanding like what's up here and being able to communicate it so people can understand that. And that is a hard task. Sure. If I tell you that, hey, I have this camera of all these settings and it has this quality and this megapixel, you don't give a like who cares about all that stuff other than other camera nerds and people who like go about stuff. What people want to care about that are trying to tell their stories, like how can you tell my story? How can you connect with my audience? How can you sell my product or position it in a certain manner? And that is a totally different language than the craft of it. So as soon as you can like make that connection, that's business. And it's of course it's connected to the craft, but I mean it's a different language.
The business itself, thing. like sometimes you see top end clients and you see the pictures and like, yo, what like
so there, and also there's that cliche, like let's be honest, whether it's the I mean on the NBA or the top movie actors or the top singers out there, they're not the best singers in the world. Like there are, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm positive there's like amazing, crazy, insane basketball players who are not in the NBA. Yeah, sure. And so the question is like, well, okay, cool. So why? And it's because it's not about necessarily the skill. It's about playing the game. It's about having those nuances, having those relationships, and yes, still being skilled in that area. Yeah. The best singers are not on like whatever selling these record labels and things like that. The best rappers, like there's definitely doper MCs, but they just don't play that game. They don't understand how to monetize what they're doing or their craft. Yeah, and that's the difference.
That's the biggest thing. And the funny thing I really learned about like business, like once you actually dive in to actually understand it, it's easy. Like especially like right now, because I'm really like studying the business side of video. It's always saying one stuff. When you especially when you're starting out, don't think about yourself. Think about how you can add value to the next person. 100%. Because like when that person like especially for like now, for example, I got zero portfolio in video, and I'm reaching out to your brand. I can't expect you to pay me. I have nothing to show. But if I'm reaching out to you saying like, hey, I'm a whatever content creator, whatever, I would love to shoot a promotional video for you for free, no string attached. And you thought, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah.
And you told them the value you want to add to them.
Totally.
You can send it to 100 people, one or two, at least one or two will reply you, and that's all it takes. It's literally just because then when you shoot that for them and you do a good job, you build, like you said, the relationships,
Totally.
and then it just goes from there.
Totally. And the one thing I'll say, just as a little one up, I would say, do the video and send it to them.
Yeah.
Like, don't even say that you want to do that. Just send it to them. Create, like, remix, create some content, pull some stuff out.
That's a good point.
See if you can shoot depending on what the industry is.
Yeah.
And then just give it to them. Be like, yo, I love your business. I think this is cool. This is what I did for you. Hope you enjoy it. Are you kidding me?
That's actually
if someone dropped me something like that, I'd be like, yo, what are you about? Let me check this out. Yo, this is dope.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yo,
can you do some more? Because this performed.
That's true.
Like, that is undeniable.
He gave you a good ass idea right now, bro. He gave you a good.
No, literally.
That's a great idea.
Because like, now I'll tell you after the show. I'm not. Really, I'm not putting it in my. I don't want to. Because I told him I don't want to put my. I don't want to fully put it out there. Yeah.
Put it out. No.
Nah. But no, I never really thought about that.
That's actually an amazing suggestion.
Because like, say for example, someone is trying to get into, maybe want to start shooting bridal clothes.
Yeah.
If you go down to the store, pick up a couple bridal wear, come to the studio, do a photo shoot, send it to them, and be like, hey, I picked up a couple of your, your clothing store, and here's a couple photos, whatever.
Here you go.
There you go. And they see it.
Would love to work with you, and here's my work, and this is your stuff, and do whatever you see fit. It's all yours.
That's a good,
That's like, I guarantee you, if you did that
bro, that's a great
That's marketing
idea.
101.
I can't even lie. That's a great idea.
That's actually marketing 101.
I got a question though. So it kind of, I guess, dies from this, but you have so many things that you're working on, right? We have to actually still jump into those. Yo, okay, hold on, one sec.
Hopefully the batteries doesn't die though.
As we're here right now,
I hope so.
This is the conclusion of part 1, but it's the start of part 2.
It's true.
Literally, let's make a thing because it's not
just in case it ends. So
we got this camera will keep rolling too.
Yeah, just in case. Just in case. Like,
comment, subscribe.
We got part 2 coming.
Part 2 is
just
coming.
In case the camera dies.
It's not just in case. It's definitely gonna die. It's definitely gonna die. Part 2 is coming next week after this one.
Yeah.
You can write out consecutively.
Yeah, so right now we're like a minute and 29. Let me put a note on that.
Minute 29. Boom.
All right, bless. Okay, let's go.
All right.
Next
we're back and we're at it. We're back.